Last month I did a library tour and I kind of went around the room and I showed off the bookshelves and the knickknacks and all of that stuff, the books that I have here in the studio. And over the years, I've gotten a few comments here and there asking how I actually make the videos, what kind of equipment I use, what kind of gear I have. And actually, when I did that video, I kind of got a mini spike in those comments, and there were several on that video alone where people said, "What gear are you actually using?" And I thought, you know what? I can make that video. Why not? Now, starting this off, to me, this shot is extremely important. In any shot that I do, it's not this shot. Just the look of the shot is extremely important. Maybe not to like the overall viewers. I don't know if anyone actually gives a shit what the shot looks like if you're going to be sitting here and talking about books on the internet, but to me, it matters. It matters a lot to me. I put a lot of time, effort, and energy into the look and the aesthetic of my videos. I have several different angles that I shoot just this side of the room from, and I put a lot of care into what each one of those shots looks like. And like I said, it probably doesn't matter to anybody but me, but I work very hard on it. Also, on top of that, gear to me is like toys. I've always loved gear and equipment. Like when I was broken and I was shooting videos from up in my room, you could see my guitars on the wall behind me because I am an amateur guitar player. I'll put that amateur for real. But back 10 years ago, I was like going to write and record my own music, and I would get all the little microphones and the little 32 track recorder. And yeah, just gear. It's like, I love it. I love it. I love it. It is something I will lose myself in gear. So what I'm saying is a lot of this gear is completely unnecessary and really over the top. But to me, it's just a passion and I love it so dearly. I will not apologize for having my gear. Now moving into the gear, starting with the camera itself. And this is the only camera I've ever owned. It's the one I started the channel with. It's the one that I have to this day. And it is the Canon M6 Mark II. And that is pretty much one of the cheapest cameras that you can buy that has interchangeable lenses. And that was a very big deal to me when I started the channel, was I wanted to be able to swap out the lens and kind of upgrade and exchange from there. And I have had multiple different lenses on this camera over the years. The one that I'm currently using is by far my favorite, and it is a Viltrox 23 millimeter focal length with a 1.4 aperture. And I do shoot that all the way wide open so that I can get this blurry background behind me. The camera is also APS-C, which just means that it's a cropped sensor. It's not actually a full frame camera. And that is the one thing I will admit I desperately want to upgrade is the camera, but I just don't happen to have $5,000 in my back pocket, which is about what it would cost to buy a full frame camera and a lens to go on that camera. I daydream about like fancy cameras, and I just, maybe one day if I ever can afford it, I might have one. But today is not that day. And to be quite honest, I film everything in full 4K, and I film it all at 24 frames per second instead of 30, because 24 frames is like the movie frame rate, so it looks a little more cinematic. Yeah, I know I'm talking about books on the internet, but I'm looking for that cinematic feel, because 30 FPS runs a little bit more like broadcast television feel and look to it. Anyway, what the point is, the camera does everything I need it to do. It does have a few things that kind of irritate my soul. It has a 30-minute record limit, and it overheats if you run it for too long. But one day I'll have a nicer camera. Maybe. I also, over the years, have slowly learned how to use the camera. Like if you looked at some of my early videos compared to my videos now, you'd be like, there is no way that that is the same camera. But back in the day, I used to like put it on auto and just let the camera think for itself. I've learned over the years, you never let a camera think for itself. Cameras don't know what the they're doing. You put that on full manual, you lock down every single setting to the way you want it to look, and you never let the camera do anything from there. They don't know what they're doing. I don't care how smart things get. You put it on manual and learn how to use it. It'll always look better. Anyway, the only thing I let my camera do, thinking for itself, is focus. That's the only thing it's allowed to do on auto. Moving on from there, we're going to have to move right on into the lighting, and that is how I light me, the background, the whole room. For myself, I use a 3-light setup to light the subject. That would be key light, fill light, and there is a hair light or a rim light behind me to kind of light up my head because I have dark hair, I have dark bookshelves, like bookcases back here, and if I didn't have that hair light or that rim light, you literally, my head just kind of blends into the background and it looks quite silly. I could probably demonstrate for you. Here, hold on. Okay, it's off. Now it's back on. Now it's off. Now it's back on. And you don't really even realize what a difference it makes until you use one. Anyway, key light. What is my main key light that lights me up? I do have the Godox VL150 Mark II. It is a COB light, and it is probably the most color accurate COB light that money can buy that isn't named Aputure, because Aputure lights will run you about $1,100 for a light bulb. And I can't afford that. Frankly, no one should be able to afford that. That's ridiculous. Anyway, so Godox, much more like affordable version, although I have the VL series, not the SL series. I think the SL series is like their cheap one and they're kind of plasticky feeling, and I don't know. I went with the VL series and I'm blown away with the quality, build quality, light quality of this thing. It's insane. All of this is replacements, by the way, because I started this with like these little $40 panels from like Amazon, and I rocked those for like a couple of years before I started to slowly upgrade some of this equipment. So just keep that in mind. Anyway, the fill light is a Amaran, which is actually made by Aputure. It's their cheap brand, or they're like, their budget level for like YouTubers and stuff like that. That's not running a professional movie studio, but it's an Amaran FX21, and that is only because I don't have a lot of room down here, and to have multiple ones of these COB lights with big soft boxes on them isn't really feasible. So I went ahead, and it's just my fill light. It just kind of fills in this side of my face so I'm not completely in shadow. And I got it because it's just literally an LED light panel with the softbox built into it, and it takes up almost no space. Because like I said, I would have multiple one of these Godoxes if I had more space. I wouldn't even waste my time with these little Amarants. But for what they are, for the LED panel, for the size and space, and they're super, super nice. I really can't say enough about it. I will say I do like the light quality of the Godox just a little bit better. And I only know that because when I shattered my ankle, I had to film from my bedroom for a while, and I took that little light because it was so much. I had my son bring it up to my room for me, but it was so much smaller and compact. I wanted that one up in my room while I filmed from there for about a month and a half. And the light quality is not quite as, I'm spoiled, I think, with this Godox light. I really must say, I would not have known that the light quality from this thing is just like a hair less than that if I wasn't completely spoiled by this key light. Then my little hair light up here behind me is a $14 shop light from Home Depot with a Wi-Fi enabled light bulb in it that I can run from my phone and kind of change the color temperature on the light bulb. I mean, this is the kind of setup, this real homegrown jank shit that I had completely surrounding me for a while. And I've slowly, like I said, very slowly over the course of the 3.5 years I've been doing this, upgraded one piece of equipment at a time. Real fast before I move away from lighting, I do want to say I have pretty much all of my room lighting. I have spotlights that I have on the bookcases to kind of light them up. I have this little rope light thingy here that goes around my picture frame, and I have a little stand-up light that you'll see from one of my other camera angles that you can see in the corner. I've even put it behind me like it was a tube light before. And all of that is Godox, because I just can't. I bought that rope light. I was so overwhelmingly satisfied with the product that they delivered that I just continue to buy them, and I continue to be overwhelmingly happy with their products. I can't say enough for the Govee lighting, and I know it's all full RGB. I could have a disco behind me. I'm very boring. I don't like RGB. I just tune it all to various colors of white, and I move forward with that. So it's kind of silly to have all this like RGB lighting around me and not use it. I'm an old man. I just don't like RGB at all. Anyway, moving on to the audio. Now, Audio quality in a video is paramount. Their audio quality is more important than video quality. At least that's what they say. That's what everybody says. I don't know if that's true, but that's, like I said, that's what everyone will tell you. Now, once again, I'm truly a gear nerd, and I wanted a genuinely professional sound to my audio. I wanted a professional broadcast dynamic microphone, and that's what I have. So if you're going to get a professional broadcast dynamic microphone, there are only two really in all of existence that you should even be looking at. One is what I have before me, and that is the Electro Voice RE20. And it is a broadcast dynamic microphone. It was invented like in the 1950s, and the design has not changed since they made it. It really truly is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The other option that you have, of course, is the Shure SM7B, which is pretty much, your Joe Rogans and everybody else is running that microphone. Me personally, aesthetics is important. Just like I put so much effort into what this shot looks like, I really wanted a microphone that looked good. And to me, aesthetics matter. And I cannot stand the look of the Shure SM7B. I think it's ugly, which is hilarious to say when I am sitting in front of this metal monstrosity that is puke green. But for some reason, that like 1950s aesthetic of this microphone, it just drips with charisma and just character, and I love everything about it. I didn't even want the one, they make a new one that's like black, so it's like not as grotesque looking. No, I wanted this one, and that's, I know, but this is the one that I wanted. I think it's just beautiful. And then I got the shock mount for it, which is not made to go on like a microphone stand. It's actually made to be on a boom arm. Another thing, I hate boom arms. I think they're hideous. I think they look terrible in videos. I wanted a desk mounted thing. They don't make a desk mount for it. So I literally had to like build this like weird microphone stand. I Frankenstein this together from like the plate from a different microphone stand with the shock mount. And then I bought this little thing on Amazon that's supposed to mount your microphone to a wall. But then I bored holes through this plate with a specific drill bit. It took a lot of work to build this Frankenstein of a microphone stand, and I love everything about it. It's the most ridiculous looking thing, and I think it fits the aesthetic for what I'm doing. But you're not going to find this microphone stand on the internet. I literally had to bore holes through this metal plate with a specific drill bit. It was a lot. Anyway, moving on from there, I run the microphone through an audio interface that goes into my computer. That audio interface is a Focusrite 4i4. I want to say it's the third generation. I don't think it really matters which generation you're on, but it is the Focusrite audio interface. Then you're not going to get decent audio quality if you're in a reflective room. So you're going to have to acoustically dampen the sound in the room somehow. Then there's two ways of dealing with audio in your room. One is diffusion and one is absorption. Diffusion is rough surfaces or uneven surfaces or things that are going to break up the sound waves. So essentially, all of these bookcases behind me and then that picture and everything else. So and then I am sitting in a basement. So I'm in a concrete room. There are two surfaces that are the absolute worst for sound quality. One is glass, the other is concrete. So I'm in basically the worst case scenario for audio quality down here. So I have either every square inch of this room is covered in diffusion, like the bookcases and the pictures and all of that, or sound absorption. So I have carpets on the floor and I have acoustic panels on the wall. Now, once again, I am just weird about aesthetics and I cannot stand the look of those little foamy pads that people stick on their walls. I want to come down here. I want this to be my sanctuary. I want to come down here and I want to feel like I'm in Zen. And looking at spongy foam pads on my walls would not be it for me. So I built my own sound panels. That's another thing. You'll realize I build stuff like crazy. I love it. It's like the gear. I like building things. I have a whole workshop on the other side of the basement where I tinker and I build stuff God knows why. I'm weird. But anyway, I built the sound panels and then I even put them up on the walls. And for a while they looked like everybody else's sound panels where it's just like, oh, look, a black box on the wall. And then I had this idea like a couple weeks after the fact. What if I like stained some wood and put the wood around the outside and then it was like a frame or something? So now they're like got fancy looking frames on them. Why? I don't No, because I'm weird and I do weird things. But anyway, I have 5 of those surrounding me in this room. Pretty much anywhere I could squeeze one, I squeezed one in there, and it's pretty dead. Like, really, I know you can't hear that. It means nothing to you that I just clapped, but it's pretty dead in here, especially for a concrete basement. Shocking. You'll go from one side of the basement over here to my studio and you're like, oh, wow, the sound just went away. It's weird. Now, moving on to the PC where I edit these videos and I actually make them. And once again, I'm a PC guy. I don't like Apple. For fear of repeating myself, I like to tinker, I like gear, and I like building things, all of which Apple won't let you do. So clearly, they're not an option for me. But I do have an editing PC. For the first 2 years of the video, I edited actually on a laptop, which is like just a Dell laptop. It chugged and it struggled and it ran slow and the fans fired up and it sounded like it was trying to take off the desk and fly away at every second of editing, but it got me through like 2 entire years. That did fine. I did last year upgrade and build my own PC from scratch, and I put that thing together and it sits down here below the desk. It is my editing powerhouse. It doesn't even make noise. It's so just chugs away. Does literally, it looks at me when I'm editing 4K video like it's got better things to do with its time. But just in case you were curious, that computer is running an Intel 12700K. That is essentially just a fancy way of saying a 12th gen i7 with onboard graphics. It's also running an NVIDIA 3070 graphics card with 32 gigs of RAM. I then edit all of these videos in the Adobe Premiere Pro, and I know that is like the most expensive version of any editing software, and it's like a subscription base, and I'm probably getting ripped off, but I genuinely like having the suite. I use Premiere for all of my video edits. I use Audition for all of my audio. I use Photoshop to make all of my thumbnails. And I even play around in Lightroom. I edit some pictures that go into my videos. And sometimes I don't even, like, most of the stuff I do in Lightroom isn't even stuff for like content. I literally just play with it because I decided to take a picture of my cat. I also keep telling myself that I'm going to play around with that After Effects one of these days and put some real like crazy effects into my videos. I haven't done it yet, but you believe you me, if I get some free time and I learn how to use it, you might see some upgrades happen on this channel and you won't know where they came from. Anyway, the computer then goes into a dual monitor setup. One is landscape and one is portrait. The portrait, of course, I don't know why that's an of course, but the portrait I keep my notes on when I'm filming videos. So I have my camera here and my notes here, and I don't have to look very far to see them. Also, just the genuine ease of use and kind of how handy having one is in portrait mode is. You don't realize how useful a portrait mode monitor is until you have one and you use it for a little while and you're like, how did I ever get by without one of these before? This is crazy. Then, last but not least, just if you were interested, I sit at my desk, and this desk is the IKEA Hack Desk, which was kind of trendy a few years back. You get a set of Alex drawers from an IKEA, and then instead of putting a desktop on it, you put like a wooden countertop on it. But of course, me being me, I can't just leave well enough alone and just put a regular countertop on it. I have to like cut it off at some weird angle and then put the other side back on this side and kind of make it into like an L desk. But it's not like a 90-degree L desk like a normal person would make. It's like this weird up crazy angle, like I don't know, because I'm just odd and I just don't do anything like a normal person does. I have no excuses for myself or my behavior. I don't know. Anyway, I think that pretty well covers it, and I hope that was helpful or useful or at the very least interesting or entertaining. And of course, as usual, everybody, the link for my Patreon's in the description below. The link for my Discord's in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.